Okay, Control, Elise, I assume we're all looking forward to it a decent amount.
Yes.
What was like the biggest surprise being at the studio? What didn't you know about the game?
I think one of the cooler things that we found out was just how they were rebuilding their AI. And they had...
Oh, what?
It's true.
Yeah, they rebuilt their AI completely. What was it called again? The
Encounter Director
Encounter
system.
Director. Yeah, which improves a lot from their past games, especially Quantum Break. And you might be better at
So
saying it in a
basically,
succinct way.
all of Remedy's games to this point, like Alan Wake, Max Payne, Quantum Break, have all been very linear and like kind of intentional encounters, right?
Sure.
Specifically planned.
Yeah, so like they're like, all right, when you come
place.
around this corner, these guys are going to come at you, and then you get to this point in the battle, and then these other enemies will come out. They've just kind of been able to chart out every single encounter to this point. But Control being kind of a more open game,
Much
like
more
can,
open.
Less in control.
Less linear.
Yeah, a lot less linear. You can just kind of go wherever you want in the oldest house, which is the setting. By
We
the
have a
way.
lot to explain. But
We
yes.
do.
Yeah.
There are a lot of terms. But so they have this like wave-based procedural spawning system that they've developed.
What? Okay.
Yeah, so it like determines like based on where you are in the game, and like it spawns like
Yeah,
it
depending
like
on
does all
your-
these like calculations to like say like you're going to have like this level of intensity in this, and that'll be comprised of like different like types of enemies that have different values
It's
assigned.
just the Left 4 Dead director is in a Remedy game? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. Why did it have such a big impact on you guys? Like, why do you think?
It's funny, we're getting into this weird specific thing right
Yeah,
away,
I
but it's like
know.
if you ask what the most interesting
That
thing
was
was, that's
the
what we were
most-
talking about after.
It
Like
was.
they walked us through this tech they're using, and it was so cool.
I don't know. I think just that shift from more scripted encounters to procedural generation
Yeah.
of enemies is an interesting thing for Remedy.
Yeah.
So I thought that shift was cool.
Okay.
And I've always been kind of not that hot on Remedy's combat in past games.
Oh, interesting.
So I think also another surprising thing was just how dynamic and tight that combat felt this time around.
Did you guys get to play it?
We did.
We
Oh,
sure
very
did.
exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's zoom out a little bit here. So
Sure.
this is, what is the genre?
Action.
Action adventure-ish?
Action adventure.
Supernatural action, I think, is a good way to describe it.
And you play as Jesse exploring this house in New York that's called the Oldest House, which is a trippy kind of hyper-cubish house that is constantly rearranging itself.
Yeah, so
all over
it
the
is
place.
the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control, a government agency that is like tasked with investigating like supernatural occurrences throughout the country.
Okay.
And they
Yeah.
go around, they get these supernatural items, and they bring them back to research them. So there's all these like powerful like possessed items all throughout the oldest house as well. So there's like
And it's and the oldest house itself is considered like a place of
Yeah,
power.
place of power.
Which basically means that it has different dimensions that kind of seep in, and it's just one of those kind of strange sort of supernatural zones across the country.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is it? Can we say Metroidvania?
that's
Yeah,
I think
we
they've
can.
said that.
We can.
We can officially say it.
It has that kind of progression in the sense that there are these things called objects of power that you find around the oldest house, and when you find those, they give you different abilities, but you can find different ones in different orders, and they're all kind of placed in different areas.
And the abilities are crazy. It's like you're flying
So
or hovering
yeah,
around and stuff.
I think my favorite was levitate.
Yeah.
Which is just so much fun to fly around, and then you can combine them with different things. Like you might, you can levitate atop, and up high above enemies, and then like slam down on the ground.
Yeah, that's why like using melee. So like it's like you
Yeah.
levitate, then you use melee, and it causes you to slam down into the ground. You can like air dodge by using the evade button.
Yep. Yeah, it's really cool. Levitating in the air just kind of feels like you're swimming, but
Yeah, she looks
While you
very
fly.
unsure of herself when she's doing it.
Oh, I love it. It's like the good like Iron Man taking off, like
Yeah.
struggling animation. I love that stuff.
What
Yeah.
else? There was Seize, which was cool, where you once you weaken enemies, you can take over their minds basically, and they'll work for you.
Yeah, you turn them on your side basically.
Great. Always fun.
Yeah. So that there's and Shield, which kind of makes a makeshift shield where you kind of concrete just kind of comes. Sorry,
Pulls up from
I'm
the
so bad
floor.
at talking.
You like
You
summon
can pull
concrete?
concrete from the floor, and then it kind of like comes at you at like a magnet, and then that becomes your makeshift shield.
That's what we
Yeah,
got
like-
the biggest taste of was the combat, definitely more than
Yes.
like playing the story or anything. We just
Oh, okay.
spent a lot of time doing the free combat
Yeah.
in the lobby.
Yeah, we explored a little bit in the
did.
lobby. We fought a bunch of enemies, and we watched a bunch of playthroughs of some of the missions.
It was fun just exploring that like research lobby that we were in, because like your first look at it, it just looks like an average like lobby, and like maybe not that interesting because it has this kind of like brutalist concrete look to it.
Okay.
But then there's all these secret areas. Like there's a basement that has all this like fungus growing on the walls and different like lore stuff to find.
Kind of like Last of Us enemies, like creeping down there. It was
Oh, really?
It was
Yeah,
weird.
fungal
Yeah.
looking.
Oh, I guess I just expected it to just be agents of control that you're fighting, but it's like
And-
weird monsters and stuff.
Oh
Also.
no, they yeah, there are a lot there the supernatural threat that you're trying to gain control of is called the Hiss.
The hiss.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the Hiss possesses ex-employees of the Bureau. So they all kind of have
Okay.
this sort of zombie look to them. And some of them are flying, some of them are, not that far in their transformation yet.
Yeah.
So they're still like, exclusive to ground combat.
So I think it was the director Michael Kasserinen.
Very
is how I
impressive.
think
Yeah.
I'll go with it.
Nailed it.
he kind of described it as like their possession of these people are like kind of in like different phases of like a disease where it's like, all right, at first it's not so bad, and then it like steadily worsens, and
Yeah.
like as it worsens they gain new abilities. Like some of them can like fly around and like use similar abilities as Jesse, so like they can like pick up parts of like the environment and throw it at you too.
And they look less and less human.
Become more and more bullet spongy.
I'm sure.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Leo, did you like this game?
I did. I liked it a lot. I was surprised by the amount of pieces of the environment that were destructible, which hasn't happened in a long time, I think, in a game for me. Just like knocking somebody back with melee and they fall through a waist-high cover and just smash through the concrete and it falls into 100 pieces on the ground.
Ooh.
Like their whole physics engine.
Is pretty impressive.
If you want to know what this game is, think of it like a sci-fi knack. Because
Shut up.
because there are so many particles flying around at all times.
Really?
Just picking up a filing cabinet and papers are flying everywhere and then throwing it at an enemy
Yeah,
and glass
or even
shatters.
things like hooked on the wall, like an extinguisher, and then you see it splatter, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun.
That
Yeah,
sounds
I
awesome.
mean, it's
And
very sandboxy.
I
and
think
fun
what
like
was
that.
nice too was like I was sort of worried that it wouldn't be so accurate when I'm like looking at, because all you do is like point the camera in a certain direction, and then you're like, okay, I want to pick that up or whatever, but things are highlighted so you know exactly like what you want.
But it's
what
kind of
you
like a
pick up.
subtle highlight. Like
It is, yeah.
it doesn't really take you out of the experience. I think it's
No.
just kind of like showing like what Jesse is looking at when you're aiming in that direction and what
Okay.
you would pick up if you
Yeah.
If you
chose
wanted to
pick
use your
something up.
force, push and pull, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Okay.
And like other areas that we found were like we went into like this room and there was like this weird like 50s motel setting all of a sudden.
Ooh.
And like it was a maze. Think kind of like Lost Woods, where like you're walking and like the walls just start like kind of rippling away as you walk to them.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's so
And-
it's so interesting. I loved that part, and just that kind of like contrast between old and new that you see
Yeah.
a lot in this setting, because the oldest house was found in like the 60s, I believe, and so there is a lot of like old machinery and just weird shit from decades ago.
Okay.
And then like that's kind of contrasted with like modern stuff, or even like Jesse's own clothing that's more casual and modern.
They did talk
I
a
don't
lot
know,
about
it's pretty
that
cool.
that visual
Contrast.
contrast
Yeah.
and leaning into that, and it makes every scene look really distinct and memorable.
Okay.
Yeah, and like even like with the hiss contrasting with the building itself, where the building is like very sharp edges and concrete and solid, and the hiss is like this fluid entity that you have no idea what it is.
Right. To bear down on one micro-specific thing, also,
Please.
throwing stuff into the wall actually made a 3D concave dent in the concrete. Like you could turn and look, and it actually put a dent in the wall, which like I didn't even know we were there yet technologically.
Did you raise your hand? We're there! We're there! I've seen it!
The bastards did it. But stuff like that was really impressive. Like the engine they're working with seems really strong.
Do we?
it's
And it's
pretty
just their in-house engine, like the same as Quantum Break, I presume.
I think so.
I
I'm not
don't
sure
want
though.
to say for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like that, but now it's 505 Publishing.
Right.
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you get any insight into why they went with 505?
Yeah, a little bit. They said, they've been with Microsoft for, what, nearly a decade at this point. And
With Alan Wake and Quantum Break.
Yeah, and Max Payne 2 was just
Oh.
Xbox on PC.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah, so it's been a long time that they've been kind of under that wing, and they said that they wanted more control over, like, no pun intended.
I mean, I think it's very literally that's why they named it that, honestly.
Yeah.
So, like, harness more control over their IPs, and from what I understand, previous IPs like Quantum Break were actually owned by Microsoft.
Right.
So this way they can just, have more power over, what directions they want to take the series.
So 505 doesn't own this game.
I believe not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was your take on Remedy overall? Did you get to high five Sam Lake? Any good?
Yeah, we had
studio?
lunch with him.
How'd that go?
It was fun. It was cool. It was one of those pinch myself moments of like, what a weird job. I'm just,
I know what
Max
that was.
Payne is sitting 2 feet away from me eating hot dogs.
And he's so cool. He's really chill and really interesting to talk to.
He was
I
really
liked
cool.
picking his brain.
And that studio is beautiful. They have
Oh
this
my God.
three
Yeah.
Yeah,
floor
they just
plus
got
a
a
basement
new,
building all to themselves with this glass elevator in the middle of it.
Ooh,
Super
glass
cool.
elevator.
Mhm.
Jeez, that's awesome. Any other good exclusives we got that we haven't talked about yet?
Motion Capture Studio. We got to go down and see their motion capture studio, which will be a video feature coming later this month on
GameInformer.com
Hype it up.
/control.
Totally. One other thing I want to touch upon is just
Yeah.
like the storytelling.
Please.
I really got a lot of like Alan Wake vibes from it, just in the sense that it's definitely like David Lynch inspired, very like Twin Peaks like, and the whole point of it is like Jessie is trying to understand her past and understand her supernatural abilities, so she goes to this Bureau of Control to find answers. And what they said what was really interesting was like so much of what you see is like questionable, and so much of like what you understand, well, there's a limit to what you understand, and like it's going to be like mystery upon mystery, and kind of reminded me of like Virginia in a way, of like
Wow.
of like a story that can be interpreted in so many different ways.
Right.
And-
Really?
They're not intending to answer every
and they
question.
don't want
Yeah.
to answer everything. And I love that. Like I love stories like that. So if they can pull that off, I think that would be really interesting.
Something that they didn't pitch this, but it's something we talked about behind the scenes, was comparing the Bureau of the Control to like the Dharma Initiative from Lost. Just like these realistic, straightforward experiments, kind of these little localized experiments on these different areas of supernatural phenomena.
It's such a good premise for a game.
It is. They
very
talked
good
about
one.
building the world first and then the story after, and
Yes,
you can really
which-
see that in the way that stuff works out.
Which they have not done before. So
Right.
This was
In that
this
order.
this is a different order this time.
Okay.
Right.
So
In addition to the Lynch inspiration, in Leo's rapid fire questions, which you can also see at that same hub web address,
Yeah.
Michael, the game director, says that Kubrick was also an inspiration for a lot of the visuals and imagery they
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
that's true.
How was the rapid fire filming, Leo?
It was fun.
He's a very straight man.
Yeah, he was perfect. He was like so dry in just the right way. I was really happy with how that
It was
came
great.
out.
Yeah, he was pleased enough. I was confused when you said like, what's the scariest game you've ever played? And he said Control.
Creepiest.
Creepiest. Sorry, but then later on he's like, it's not a horror game. It's like, well, I don't know what this is at this point.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think it has horror elements, but it's not strictly a horror game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what he
You
So
run
it's
into that
creepy.
sometimes. I remember with Condemned 2, it was like, I'm having too much fun to be scared right now. Like, this combat system is just too great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else is coming up throughout the month? GameInformer.com/control.
Well, let's
Deep dive on abilities.
Yep.
I'll also have a look at the way they're approaching side missions, a new thing kind of for Remedy, and also a deep dive on the oldest house. And Elise, what do you have coming?
I'm going to be talking a whole lot about the storytelling, some of the stuff that I mentioned in this
Yeah.
podcast. The astral plane, I'm going to kind of dive into what that place is, which is where Jessie binds to new abilities. She has to like fight different enemies to like prove herself there. It's like in a different dimension.
It's kind of like a Dishonored type thing. Okay.
Yeah. We
It's-
saw a little bit of behind the scenes, way early stuff that they did not want to give us at all because it was so early.
Mhm.
But you were just like fighting this giant cosmic monster in the astral plane, flying around
It was
shooting
so
it.
creepy. It was like this tentacle thing with a
giant
giant eye.
It was
And then
cool.
like its pupil shoots out at you. I don't know. It was so
But it was
bizarre.
no AI spawning system. I understand. I get it. That sounds great.
Yeah, I think those are like the two that I'm most looking forward to.
That sounds great. Leo, video-wise, Rapid Fire's already out there, so all the fun's over, right?
You wish. The abilities, got a video on that, as well as a service weapon, that single pistol
Yeah,
you have
we
that
didn't even-
transforms
Oh, yeah.
into a bunch of different forms. We've got to look at a bunch of different forms of that.
Sweet.
Then that motion capture video.
Which was like, what's going on there?
They suited up. Elise and Shay both suited up, did the T poses,
Oh,
did the
wow.
base animations, and recorded something that may end up in the game.
Elise, was it fun?
It was fun, but you can totally tell that Shay goes to the gym and I don't.
Shay, did you ever stop flexing inside that suit? Do you just keep ripping suits? I need another
He's
mocap
just so
suit.
much more coordinated than I am.
Yeah, they made us do like kind of some warm-ups to kind of calibrate the suits that we were wearing, and it was like, all right, now like squat down and jump up, and all right, now stand on one foot and touch the bottom of your other foot.
Oh my god.
And they had the
14
live
jumping
feed
jacks.
of the wireframes of them
was
on the
fun.
screen, and I could look at it and then look at them.
Oh,
and it
that's
was
fun.
one-to-one. It was so cool.
Yeah, at one point I possessed Shay.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Good times.
What were you?
I was being Jessie.
Yeah, she
Oh,
was
so I
Jessie and I was an enemy.
Okay, so and you're mocapped in the game then, so Jesse's animations are all going to be awkward and winded.
It's funny because she was actually
Precisely.
she was wearing Courtney Hope's mocap suit. They told us who was the protagonist in Control. She plays Jessie, and I was wearing the mocap suit of Matthew Peretta, who is Alan Wake.
Oh.
So,
Yeah,
Both
who
never
also makes an
watched.
appearance in this game. Well, not Alan Wake, but the voice actor.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually have like kind of the Remedy All Stars because they have the voice actor of Max Payne, the voice actor of Alan Wake, Courtney, who was
Quantum
Beth
Break.
in Quantum Break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of old Remedy actors coming back and
That's fun.
getting
Yeah.
the band back together.
It's an exciting story, and the cover story's good, right, Elise? I haven't read it yet.
I would say it's good.
Was it? Was it fun to write?
It was my first one. It was really fun to write. Very, very quick deadline, but I don't know. It was. I'm really hoping to do more of those. I love meeting developers. I love going to their studios and seeing like these passion projects come to life. It's
Yeah.
so exciting, so fun.
Do you want to do the next one?
We'll see. I might
Great.
want a break after Control.
Oh, a little quantum break.
Quantum
GameInformer.com/control, everybody.
That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.